Hey guys, welcome to another stream. Sorry I'm late. Yeah, unfortunately I didn't realise how long it would take me to set up this kind of preview screen, if you like. I've been messing around with it, trying to get the imagery up, and this is about as good as I can get it for the minute. I might have to play around with it another day and see how it goes. I hope that people come in. I know it's 20 minutes late, but yeah. So I've got nothing to kind of physically play or show today. Hey Brian, how you doing? Good to see you. So nothing. I wasn't going to do any drawing, so I thought we'd put the images up on the screen, because that would then they'd be clearer, and it's more sort of imagery stuff today with some stats and some amazing work that people have done. So I wanted to show some of that and then have a look at well, I mean, I've got a list here, so I can look at the new potions and talk about balancing, and then I'm going to look at hang on a minute, is it working here? Yeah, looks to be working. There we go. How's it sound? How's it sound? Yeah. How's it sound? Looks pretty good. How's it sound? That'll do. Good. And we can kind of go over some of these little bits that I've changed and updated, and yeah, see whether there's any questions. Jeff, Lars, Jeff, you've got Lars on some of the stuff and Jeff on the other stuff. It's Jeff, but not Lars. Am I right? It's confusing me. I'll do the combat test tomorrow, hopefully. Okay. That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome, Brian. I think that with the combat testing, correct, Jeff. Okay. Okay. I won't ask why. You don't have to say. The combat testing is a little bit trickier this time because they're level 10 characters. So we're looking at having to kind of buff up. And Joao, how are you doing? I hope that's about as close as you're probably going to get it. Good to see you. Sorry I'm a bit late, but I wanted to try and get a different setup going because I'm not actually looking at anything on the table today. It doesn't mean we won't go back and do some of that. Once the game is out and printed, then I'm going to do a whole series of run playthroughs, hopefully take it from level 1 to level 10. But it's quite nice to be able to have a different sort of setup to show graphics and imagery. Yes, I'll have to buff up a hero, yeah. And you're definitely going to want plate, and then have a look at the new potions which we put into the table. So that's definitely going to come into play, and I will talk a bit about that in a minute, and my kind of thinking behind it, and maybe reflect a bit on how getting deeper into a game you have to ask more about the balance, and you know, thank heavens that I've had you guys helping me with all of that. Otherwise it just would have been, my head would have been blown up, and I probably would have had to take another 2 months to do this project. I think that is probably one of the key factors about having all the great playtesters that we've had, is that it's reduced the amount of time that some of this end game stuff takes. And initially I had thought it takes longer because of the correspondence, but I'm beginning to think now that that's not the case, and that actually having all that work channeled in has saved me so much time and brought the game on sooner. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult to sort of gauge, isn't it, when you take on a project like this, how long it's going to take, and you kind of throw it out there. But the balancing is a big thing, and I think that's going to go on for a while longer. We'll probably be tweaking the digital, but yeah, no, that's been a massive learning process. So, Joel, Lars, Thor Ward was the bad guy from the old Hitchcock movie Rear Window. Well, 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 there you go. I love that. I've got a nephew called Lars, and which that always makes me think of my however old he is now, 6-year-old nephew. Todd is in the house. How you doing, Todd? Some great work recently. Been keeping you awake. Now, you mustn't make yourself ill, Todd, okay, with all your analysis, but we are going to have a look at some of that today. I hopefully have got that on one of the windows here. Yeah, underneath there. So we will have a look at that and have a little scroll through that and see if there's any points that I kind of want to highlight. Yeah, but the insomnia is fairly normal for me, lol. Oh, okay. You can handle it. I hope your other half doesn't mind too much. Yeah, so we'll get going in a minute. It appears that the Codex is going to be about 100 pages now. 100 pages of tables. Maybe even 110, because I'm going to put a little bit of text at the beginning of each section. So for the levels, so each level, some of them have new rules, like level 6, 8, and 10, and they also have the contents table, so new rules. So that's going to flesh it out a little bit as well. So we do have quite a lot going into the Codex. It's going to be really, really useful tool, hopefully, for DMs. And one of the nice things that's come out of this is that as a generation system for dungeon masters, especially those doing old school roleplay, old school revival, whatever you want to, OSR, it's a kind of very similar to that, some of that stuff back from those times, so they can use it to generate. Mind you, a dungeon is a dungeon, isn't it? So, yeah, brilliant. So, let's yeah, but the Insomnia, and we have Brett. I remembered. How about giving the beast part its own booklet? I think there may be a digital version of that. I think you might be right. I mean, I might get Javier to Javier. I would say Javier to put that into a separate booklet on A4 and letter, for printing purposes. And then we're going to have the and then we're going to have the IAUT tables 1 to 4, and probably the level tables in a separate digital file as well. So we're going to have a series of digital files available, but these ones will be A4 and letter, so you can print them out bigger. Although you can print them out bigger anyway, which is something that I'm gonna argue that people can do. So because that seems to make more sense for some of these really small ones. Although I don't have a problem reading it with the A5 with this size. with this format. You know, that doesn't bother me at all. So bear with me just one sec. I'll try and bring this up a little bit here. Anybody name the TV show or the book? Okay, that's a bit better there. Hey Nick, how are you doing? Sorry I was late today. I had to well, because we're looking at some images today and some tables and whatnot. I'm trying to set it up on here so that we could see it in a bit more detail, because it's certainly easy to see that image there that's on the screen rather than on the table in a poorly lit studio. So Joel has got it. The Expanse. That is correct. Good work. Yeah. So that is that's the thinking, and I just kind of I printed the manual in A5 and the tables in A4. There you go. That seems to be a good plan. The images are highly detailed, so you're looking at there's no kind of loss of quality as far as I'm aware. I mean, I printed out some of the tables A4 recently, and they look perfectly fine. So that's definitely a benefit. And Daniel, how are you doing? Daniel, not David. Good to see you, my friend. No IAUT5. That is correct, Brian. I had a thought, and I sat there to write IAUT5, and I was kind of like, we don't need it for this. We don't need it for this level. You know, why have this other massive table? I know that obviously it's going to save me some time, but I'm also thinking this level 9 is pretty much, it's similar responses to the level before, and I don't need one for level 10 because we've got some other things lined up for level 10. So yeah, with level 10 we're going to have a different set of rules. So rather than minusing 2 like for level 8, the maze, where we've got this beautiful system of mazes that have come out of this system, which I'm really chuffed with, we're going to have +2 to the die rolls, apart from when you roll a 1. So the aim is, for level 10, we're going to have a series of passageways and some larger rooms, and that's it. And there are 4 lords of the dungeon, which we're going to have a look at in a minute. Some of you will know them already because I've sent them through for testing, but others won't as yet. So we'll have a little sneak, a preview of that. Yeah, and I thought it also adds a bit of variety. The level 9 is quite controlled with how the kind of experiences that you go through. It's the cursed, so it's probably the grimmest level. All the room to get pulverized in. Yeah, all the more room to get pulverized in, indeed. So we've got. We'll look at that in a sec. But as we've been getting to the deeper stages of the dungeon, I've had to think about the strength of some of these lords, some of these villains, some of these foes that you're going to be facing. And so the first move, before I started to flesh out the creatures, and I thought to myself, right, this seriously needs the adventurer needs some aid here, something to help them defeat these more powerful creatures. And so what I did, I thought it was pretty straightforward. I looked into the tables and I realised Whereas the scrolls table is quite compact, there's quite a lot on there. The potions table had quite a bit of space, and the function of potions is one that can involve more, can be used in combat. You miss a turn, but you still gain the benefits of the potion, so it's still part of combat. So the potions were the option. Nick says, does that rule work well with 20 times 20 playfields still, or should it be increased? That is a good question, and I have been thinking about that, and I guess that's something we'll have to see. But I'll just have to. We need a bit of testing on that, really. I think that you're the ideal man for it, Nick. Yeah, but there's definitely some guys that will be up to do. I know, Jeff, you'll be well up for testing out the new rules for level 10. I mean, you all are. I mean, you're wonderful. So I've got nothing to worry about. You'll tell me if it doesn't work. So the potions. Let's have a look at the potions here. Let me just increase this a little bit more. So we have got Dexterous Actions. -2 shift from your opponent's shift points for 1 whole combat. I put the 1 whole combat. I just feel better. We'll jump on that a lot. Thanks, Nick. 1 potion per combat, right? Does that mean if you take a potion at the beginning of the combat instead of using a scroll, for example, you cannot drink a potion during? No, I don't think I've ever stipulated that it's 1 per combat. You can use potions as much as you like. You just miss your attack in the combat round. So if you could take 3 consecutive potions, but the foe, the creature, will have 3 hits. And you won't be able to reply to those. You can defend still, but no, you can use more than 1 potion in the combat. I definitely don't think I've put that in there. So well, hopefully not anyway. So and if that is in there for some reason, then they'll take it out. So you're in a situation. So you've got. Okay, my mistake. I thought I read somewhere that you could only use 1 potion per combat. Probably misread it. It's fine. You know, that's just part of games like this. The rules, they kind of just... Especially when there's a lot of talk about it and we've been discussing it and you kind of hear things, But, yeah, you can take as many as you like. You just miss that round. So that is kind of... That's the downside. So we've got Dexterous Actions, which is -2 from your opponent's shift points for whole combat. So that could be really important at the beginning of a combat. So if you take that, you become suddenly like you can move. Page 9 in bold letters, you can only drink 1 potion per combat. Really? Oh my God, get out of it. Oh. Well, that is there you go at the bottom. That is obviously something I've added. You see, because it's the last sentence, I've added that in. All right. Jeff's 1-0 up. I know my own rules. Okay, so we need to take that out. So you can drink more potions per combat. And another reason that I may have thought that was too powerful, maybe, when I was in the earlier levels, but now I realise we're deeper into the dungeon. Beat me to it, lol. Okay, so we're going to take that out. That will be a rule change. Rule change coming up, guys. You can now drink as many potions as you like in combat. That was always the way it was in my head. I don't know why I put that down there like that. Okay, I'm going to make a little note of that here. This is why I have you guys here to point these things out to me. That's why I felt potion bombs were so good, because you can do more than one. Well, the potion bombs became... The potion bombs are different in the sense that you have more agency with the potion bombs because they don't take an attack away. So they're more like kind of covert weapons that you can kind of fling from a position that is easy to reach. So maybe tucked inside your jacket, and you can just fling it and it just does that thing. Whereas a potion you quaff takes more effort, doesn't it? So, you know, if you're like reaching back, drinking your potion, that's kind of like a swing. Whereas if you're just flinging something as a potion bomb, it kind of, that's where I'm at with it. Right, still great because of not losing your attack. Exactly. You can still love the potion bombs, Jeff. No problem. All right, let me just make a note of this quickly. Page 29. More potions can be used. Okay. Now that it kind of plays into this thing that I'm talking about, the balance and giving the players the tools to be able to finish the levels. So that's good. So I'm glad we discussed it because that's kind of clarified that element. So we've now got Dexterous Actions. And it's one combat. It's 100 gold coins. These are more expensive, but they're affordable for the more experienced adventurer. And they can buy these up and prepare themselves for that last level. What we're basically getting down to now is a situation where we want to be able to... the adventurer needs to go out and think, what's my strategy to take on the 4 lords at the end of the level? You know, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with this? Right, potions. We need some dexterous actions. And then we've got next Divine Shield. Now, that is minus 10 damage from each hit you take for one whole combat. Okay. Blue Eye Geek, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Finally got back to the live viewing. Excellent. Good to have you here, my friend. So we're looking at the new potions at the moment with a slightly different setup because I'm not actually needing the table for this particular stream. So we've got minus 10 damage. So that's pretty dramatic. And when we look at the lords in a minute, nuclear potion bomb with extreme prejudice. Yeah, absolutely. The Divine Shield. So you've got Divine Shield and you've got Dexterous Action. If you take one and then the other, you'll be in a pretty good situation. And that is like, so you take it and then it affects the next combat. Now I've made a few adjustments. So we've got further health and gain health. You gain more this time, more points. And those ones are exceeding beyond your threshold. So you could argue that you might take one of those before you got into the deeper combat. So you had even more HP when you went in to fight some of the tougher guys. Their values have changed slightly. The finesse value has changed a bit. That +2 shift for one whole combat was deeply underpriced. I think it was something like 15. When if you plus one shift further down, where is it? Prowess was more expensive, so there was an error there, and I hadn't really looked at the potions recently, so that was important to get that sorted. And so gaining more from the further and gain health, and then we come to phasing, which is the cheapest one. I've upped the price of that slightly. And then we have a couple more. Javier, how are you doing? Thank you. It's just we're probably going to have a few like this because we're not going to need the table just for a little while, just while we finish off the dungeon. And I'm kind of working hard on bringing the game to its climax, if you like, the main game. Anyway, we've still got the layers to finish. Now, I have been working on those as well, but what it looks like is we're going to send out 2d6 first, and then we're going to send out the yes, I know. Nick, that's only because I mentioned him earlier on in the stream when he wasn't here, and I got it wrong, and I corrected myself, so I prepared for Javier's appearance. And so, yes. Now, Javier, I've already mentioned that I'm looking at you to position to do an A4 and a letter file for me. So that's what it was. Yeah, what did I do? Sudden guilty feeling. So yeah, I'm going to get you in on that. You're on my radar, as I told you earlier on. Again, it's just madness here, as you could probably imagine. So I'm going to for the cards. So we'll get that sorted. We'll send those through, and we'll do that. We're going to have a letter size and an A4 size format for some of the tables as well. Potentially, it may be that otherwise I might just suggest to people to print them out just larger. That might be an option. So we'll just have to see. So that everybody can print the cards nicely, yeah, basically, and in a larger format. So because they're currently in A5, and having them on A4 will be very handy for people to print. So that's a big thing as well. So it's not just the alignment; it's the facility of it as well. So that's going to be really cool. We've also got Rancid Breath. That is a brand new one. That's nothing personal, okay? That is just something I was thinking within the proximity of a close combat. If you had this kind of foul breath and someone was close to you fighting, you could potentially intoxicate them. You know, that's what I do to my teenage children if they get too close to me. No, it's not. No. I've got very fresh breath, thank you. And yeah, so that does an extra 5 points of damage per round for the whole combat. So I was thinking the nasty rations made from those monsters made nasty breath indeed. Yeah, we're in the depths of a dungeon here, so we're fully entitled to share, to give back some of the wholesomeness that we have experienced on our journey. And so this is coming out that, and so that's extra damage because through the play testing, it's clear that at times Todd's particularly aware of this. Just eat the garlic special at the inn, exactly. And I thought it was kind of funny. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of humour, bit of old school role play, humour in there. And I thought, yeah. So that's because Todd's particularly pointed out to me with some of his simulations. Hi, Jim. How are you doing? Good to see you. That we don't do enough damage sometimes as adventurers. So that is an option there. That could be a nice buff to take into a higher level combat. We have regeneration, which is the next new one. Heal up to 60 health points. And I've just realised that has got the wrong value on it. It was higher than that. Okay. All right. Regeneration is going to cost more than that. Get it while it's cheap. That's going to go up to something like 75 probably. We've got 30 up there for 28. So that will be altered. Strike that. This is what it's about. This is me live. Was so glad to see the Regen 2, exactly. I thought you'd like that. I thought you'd like that one, Todd. Todd's done these amazing spreadsheets, and we're going to try and have a look at them. I'm going to see whether it plays all right on the screen. We'll have a look. It could be a complete disaster. So we've got. I've also changed the Potion of Speed to Potion of Speed Blast. I just thought that because it's just 2 free hits at the beginning of that combat, that it's kind of almost like just a sudden blast of speed, and you don't remain fast throughout the whole combat, which could bring someone to questioning why don't you gain benefit during the combat as well. So I just thought I'd just sort of stop that from becoming an issue. And yeah, so yeah, the potions. Obviously, I'm annoyed that there's an error in the table. Oh dear, this is the best way to find errors. Point it out in front of in a crowd. Why not? So that's basically where we're at with that particular table, and I think that has ticked a few boxes that we needed to cover as we've moved deeper into the dungeon, and I'm trying to balance out all of this stuff. And right, so let's have a think here. We'll have a look at the Excel sheet. No, let's have a look. No, we'll have a look at the We'll have a look at the Lords first. It ties in with this, and then when you look at the tables, you'll see a little bit more about what I mean. And then we'll look at the Excel sheet that Todd's done with some analysis of different creatures, and we can point out a few creatures that are strong and maybe a bit OP, and maybe they might be tweaked. I still need Todd. When you were looking at the tables, did you come up with a formula where you could pick out the OP monsters in the list? I couldn't remember. Let's put this. No, that's the okay. All right. So we'll take that off for the minute. And we will start with the Blood Lord. So, the new level 10, we've got some level 9s as well, but there actually are 4 Lords, 4 level 10 creatures, and there are only 2 level 9 creatures. And that's because with a level 9, there's a bit more there's a bit more. We've got some new level 7 creatures, so we only needed a couple of level 9s to sort of top that one out. Whereas level 10 is just about these 4 baddies. So not really. It's more of a rough statistical look at damage output versus the player. The OP will stand out more once I get the player side of things done. Okay, so we'll have a look at that in a minute, and we can talk about that. But we'll quickly just go over some of the stats for these creatures to show you the kind of the top end creatures that you face. And when you think about the journey that we've taken with these creatures has been quite something to experience and to actually work on. And so this is the weakest lord of the dungeon. So these are the dungeon lords, they're called, and there's two humans and 2 monsters. And this first one is the Blood Lord, and that connects directly to some of the heritage, some of the creatures, some of the stuff we've seen in the dungeon, the symbols on the walls that are painted in blood, and these creatures have maybe only 1 interrupt, because that's all they need. So they also have a special table. So these creatures drop magical items, and so do the level 9s. I'm going to put that onto the level 9 creatures at the end of that level. So we're getting more access to magical items. It's a bit late in the day. I may throw a few more magical items in some of the other tables, because you can't buy them back in the town. So we'll just have to see where the balance is there. And so they are pretty tough, these creatures. One of the main differences here is every attack is blocked. Often that is the case. Sometimes there's a little way through, and I think actually you may see I do need to change some of the dice sets on some of these because they may be repeated. I'm going to do that. I'm just waiting for a bit more feedback from some people. So we've got burning veins for that. So you as an event, your veins start to swell red and burn you in your body. This Lord, and does 3d6. So these are the ones that do 3d6 plus damage. So they are pretty tough. And blood whip. The Blood Lord draws their power from the very presence of blood, channeling Muratani and metamorphic magic. They help transform the fiends in the dungeon to more powerful beasts. Trying to tie in a bit of narrative, they energize some of the creatures in the dungeon, and they get around and play that sort of part. And I'm thinking about the story and where we can take it in the future when we're doing the expansion. So there's some of that is involved with these particular creatures, and they have a couple of special attacks there. So blood has been a theme. Ferric Lord, so this is related to metal and forged metal, and the strength of metal has an iron skin. There is a gap. 4s on primary are a way through for some of this, and there's no secondary defense. So, but it's still -8 to the damage, so it's pretty powerful. And Iron Hammer, Mighty Kick. The Ferric Lord is an iron statue animated by faculty magic, sculpted in the form of Gracada's son. It was accidentally brought to life by the god when her son was executed for war crimes. So again, some of the narrative there is some of the story, some of the background, which will be part maybe of a book that looks at the folklore of the setting. So that is something that is coming, and it will be slowly added to as we do the expansions, and as that comes along. So the Ferric Lord, and then we have the Maya Lord. Now, they also have a slight gap in their protection, primary 5s, but they -10 damage from everything else. They have giant claws and crushing embrace. The Maya Lord lived in the ground long before the dungeon was built. They are made of sludgy grey matter imbued with primordial magic, blessed by Gracada, a looming horror of the swamp and bog. Gracada's influence here shows that she potentially is the most powerful god. So that may I may change the Gracada for the other one. There may be a different god used. So there are a couple of tweaks that are probably going to come to these creatures. And 6,000 XP. Bearing in mind, to become a level 10, you need to become a level 9, you need 15,000. So these may not have enough XP yet. I've got to think about that as well. And so, like Brian, when you've done your levels there, if you could highlight to me how much XP you've got. I think you normally do. I think it just we need to make sure that we're giving enough XP reward for, say, level 8 and 9 creatures so that people can move on and get more level 3 maneuvers. And that's an important thing. The playtesters that are doing the level 10 testing, they need to make sure that all 3 maneuvers are level 3 maneuvers. Otherwise, they're not going to stand a chance. There's a big setup for level 9 and 10 if you're the adventurer. You have to have some really good armor and some good maneuvers, some great potions, and some potion bombs in there as well. So you really got to be ready. This is it. If you're underprepared, you're going to be slaughtered at the lower levels. So that's really key. And you know, that I think that has to be baked in with a game like this. I think you have to have those kind of goals to make it work. And then the final, the boss, the big guy is the Nether Lord, and he's got golden tendrils and explosive orbs, plus 12 damage, 3d6 plus 12 damage. He's got the most powerful, and he blocks everything with a -10. So he's pretty powerful. Javier, I wish I had time to play test. I feel I miss out on the collaborative process that 2d6 has evolved into. Hopefully my help with the cards will be my way to be part of this little bit. Yeah, absolutely. He looks strangely like my mother-in-law, Michael. How are you doing, Michael? Good to see you. Blue Eye Geek, definitely not child's play. Yeah. Well, this guy, or she, could be she, has the Lord's pendants hanging around their neck. And that I need to write a little bit in the rules that you take those once you've defeated the Netherlord, who is the master. Netherlord is the master of the dungeon. They are beings who have learned to balance the 4 orbits of magic so that they stand in the center and can channel uninhibited power. They are pretty damn powerful. Crap phone, I am a crabby old solo guy and feel not guilty at not participating in playtests. Excellent. We can't all... Listen, that's fine. That's fine. You know, and to a certain extent, it's a lot to ask people to keep playtesting for the months that the couple of months we've been doing it, you know. So I'm just pleased that there's people still doing it, and I appreciate any support or comments. I wasn't sure what level and eventually would be going into dungeon level 9, 10 for the testing fight. I made my character level 10. And I think that's the right thing to do. It may be worth, if you've got time, to think about how different they would be if they were level 9. Have a look at the stats. Probably not too different. Probably, it's obviously not as high hit points, health points. As a Lars, I did as well for my first guy. Yeah. Not been able to play the last 2 weeks myself. Stupid overtime and Unreal Project deadlines. Sucks. Michael, curious, did you use Illustrator to make your stat cards look very good? Stat cards look very good. Well, thank you. I use Photoshop, actually. I don't know how to use Illustrator. I've never learned. It's very much a stat card. Now, they're not like magic cards. They're not really designed to be lots of really colourful and kind of beautiful. They're meant to be information cards, and I've kind of really struggled, and we've had discussions. I knew, Javier, I knew you were going to say something. And our buddy here, Javier, has has been involved with this, thinking about the design, which is fine. You know, it's hard. It's hard when all the information on the card has to be really clear to be read and all that type of stuff. I don't want to go too much into it. Sorry, it looks like I shouldn't have brought that up. No, thank you for saying they look good. That's a nice thing. They are meant to be little graphic cards with information. Really, you will rarely will you see a card this size, this size with so much information on it. God, that's glary. Look at that. Yeah, there is a lot on there. Joel says he used Illustrator for the grid. Cool. Haha, it's all good. Water under the bridge. Yeah, Javier. You know, there was never any problem. Okay. So let's skip forward. So the Netherlord he's ultimately powerful. 7,130 health. He's got he's got those hanging pendants, kind of ball shape pendants hanging there that you take, and yeah, and that is the evidence that you need to take back to town and say, look here, this is the evidence that the Lord is dead. You become a hero. You become a legend, I should say. You become a legend. You get your legendary reward. You get your legendary reward, and then you're set up for the legend expansion, which is a way off yet. So, but I mean, that is a lot of dungeon. 10 levels of dungeon. And you become a legend. But maybe the next step as well is going to be having the Overland expansion. Its kind of working title is the Kingdom, 2d6 Kingdom, which is to work alongside the dungeon. And we've discussed this before. People who have been on the stream, they will know that we're planning this Overland expansion. And this is where you have a kingdom and you have encounters on the land as you're developing your kingdom and growing and spending the gold that you get in the dungeon, or the lairs, or the other expansions that we do. So that gold that you get is going to go somewhere else and have a function. And there's going to be a system where you can check, you can see, you can employ people and make tests, and you head out yourself and deal with an issue on the land. So there's going to be all sorts of things thrown up. Yeah, Javier. Yeah, absolutely. I can't guarantee it's going to be Hex, I'm afraid. It's going to be... I've got some ideas for something a little bit unusual. So we'll just see how that goes. I'm always looking to innovate. So that hopefully the style of map that I use will be something that nobody's ever seen before. That is the plan. I'm not going to give it up yet. We're going to just have to see when that comes. So I'm excited about that. But I can't be too excited about that because I've still got to finish writing the layers, and I've still got to finish doing level 10, which we'll finish tomorrow morning. And level 9 is with our man Clive. He's got it going. Johnny, you're right. Good thing I backed to get all the goodies. Haha. Exactly. Well, the expansion will be later in the year, so we're going to plan that for later in the year. We're going to get all this stuff printed and written and sent out to everybody. Everybody around the world is going to have all their books, all the physical copies, all the faux leather copies, before we even start planning the next one. I don't like it when you get Kickstarters and people set up a Kickstarter and they don't fulfill it, and then they start the next Kickstarter with the promise that the other one's still coming. We're not going to do that. We're going to get out to everybody. Now there may be support material online as well, free stuff. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, so that is fantastic. We've got all those lords there, and the lords of the dungeon lords. Cool. So let's have a look at the Excel sheet here. Thanks to Todd, we have this amazing sheet. Now let me just see if I can hang on. One sec. Got the thing here. So let me see if I can. If I scroll that down, does that change the screen? Let's have a look. It covered me up. Yes, it does. Excellent. Right, so on the left-hand side, we have lists of creatures per level. Now you can't really see. You can't see my head there. Love a good spreadsheet. I have to admit, I'm a little bit out of my depth here. I don't really do Excel. So when Todd was throwing this stuff at me, I was like, oh, God, I hope I can kind of deal with this stuff. My thing is all sort of creative. So creative writing, I just love doing. I'm there in that world. Or if I'm drawing or doing layout, fine. I'm happy. So, yeah. I think we can highlight lines like this. All color coded to match the colors of the levels on the monster cards. Nice job. My job lives in... Yes, of course it does, Nick. Yeah. So you guys... I often meet people who are like, oh, I love it. I love spreadsheets. A good friend of mine, who I play board games with, he just loves spreadsheets. He could talk about them for ages. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Whatever tickles your taste buds. Okay, so we have all the creatures on the left-hand side here. And you can see as we go down the levels, there are less creatures per level. There's a bit of an exception here. Level 3 and 4 there, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10. And is there more? Yes, you may not. There are some more, Todd, just so you're aware. But they haven't been released as yet. There are some more level 7. But you will see those soon enough. So if we have a look at the level 1s here, we have got one that stands out for me is the giant horned anaconda. It's got 15 HP there. It's got a special attack. Its average damage is 4, I should say. Further down, we've got the veteran here, which is also pretty powerful. Average damage is 5. His HP is 10. Weirdly, when I look at some of these and I think about these characters, it takes me back to the shows that I was watching at the time. And I was watching an episode of The Next Generation when I created that character. How weird is that? Things you remember. And then the one that everybody talks about is the apothecary. Has 12. It's that special attack in there. It makes a difference. The veteran gets 30, which is maybe a bit high there. When you look at the 30 there and then the 25 XP I'm talking about here. Average damage, the Dark Cleric does 3 average damage. Okay. All right. Let's move on to a level 2 here. And it looks all pretty well balanced to me. We've got what's the highest average damage? We've got 4, 4, yeah. It looks all pretty. The Overlord has obviously got a special attack, has an average damage of, and that seems to work. So you've got average damage done in 6 turns is 10. Okay, that works out nicely. Then we've got the Undead here. We've got the Crypt levels, level 3. We've got the Old Fang Pillarist has a high average damage here. That's interesting. Okay, that is something to know. I didn't realise that there. Yeah, that's why I left extra spaces. Cool. Good stuff. And then we go down here. See, I don't have as much appreciation for tables as I should do. We've got any I can't see any really that are too OP on their average damage. And you can see, which is a good thing, that the average damage has gone up from, say, 18 to 23. And then on the next level, these big guys, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Level 6, again, the average is high. The Summoned Flayer looks like it's quite low, actually. Question, if you have time, if not, no worries. How do you test balance? Just play testing, or do you have automated routines? That's a really good question. So one of the keys for balance is when you're creating the monsters, the creatures, what you do is that one's for 6 rounds, yes. So that's over 6 rounds, the far right. So, but it's still kind of still an average. What I do is, as I'm creating the creature cards, I will take an example of a creature from the previous level, and I'll just tweak it up a little bit on some of the settings, if you like. So I will up that so that it is just slightly higher, and then the play testers come in. They do some play testing, Michael. I then have a little comparison with some of the other, look at some of the other creature cards and have a little see where that balance is. And it is just a question of making sure you reference the previous ones. We don't have any, that the keeper is pretty powerful for his level. He's 14 hit points is his average output. And then we've got the last 4 here. The average damage goes up to 19, 19, 22 for the Netherlord. Okay. Wow. Okay, so that is impressive stuff. Thank you, Todd, for that. Let's not make it widely available yet. The reason why I say it is because we're probably going to have some tweaks and changes to that. But I definitely think once we've ironed that out, that we could put that on the Facebook page. I think that would be really, really cool to do. If that's possible, can you save XLs into like image files? I don't know whether that's a thing or not. Could be. Could be. Oh, it's more of a tool for you to use. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to use it. You can make an editable edible and editable are very similar. Yeah, okay. So the last thing that I want to look at this evening, well, my evening, is the table that Joao has made, which is going to be included in the book. So we have bit difficult to see here on the screen, but some rule overviews, rules for level 8 there. We've got doors, number of exits, where to place them, the general generation rules, the icons down the bottom there, and then checking doors as well in the bottom. And this is a grid rather than a dot grid, so I thought that might be quite nice to have that included as well. So I thought that would be a really cool thing to have as part of our book. So that will give us 3. We've got one by Raphael as well in there, so which is slightly different, kind of has a kind of textured feel to it. And then there's the plain one that I put in says completely trimmed, cut back. There's nothing else on it apart from the dot grids. Can you make a dot grid version? Can you make a dot grid version by any chance? Well, that is a good question. I don't see why not. Joel, maybe that's something you could probably come up with, maybe. Or maybe I'll just drop in the dot grid on there. I personally prefer a dot grid with something like this because it leaves, it focuses more on the drawing that you've done, and you're less distracted by the more lines. But it's just preference, you know. It's just completely up to you what you prefer. So, yeah. So that's brilliant. So thank you, Joel and Todd, for doing that. The playtesters, Jeff, Brian, all the other guys, Nick, and all the team who have contributed to this final stage, the final stage of this particular one. But we are going to have the layers expansion to do. And as I said, we're probably going to do 2 waves. The layers can take just a little bit longer. I've started work on that, and I've got some new rules which are going to be incorporated into the layers. Layers are going to be there's 2 layers involved with it, and they're going to be, you have to bigger maps, basically 1 level bigger maps that can be scaled. This is something I wanted to briefly mention. So the monsters in the lair will be scaled to allow you to play them with more powerful adventurers, and they will slot in as well with the overland expansion and allow you to explore and find more treasure to run your kingdom. So they have a different function as well. Excellent. I'll have a bunch of Blue Eye Geek says I'll have a bunch of small edits coming soon. Fantastic. That is good. Yeah, so there's just little bits and pieces. I've got a little stack over there of stuff that needs to be adjusted on the core rules, and then some of the tables as well. I suspect with the tables that we will have more stuff pop up, because the very nature of them is they're so sort of involved that I've probably missed a few bits here and there, and it may be slightly annoying, but there is a certain amount of abbreviation going on with the language and the grammar, so that is just part of what the table's about, really. So reducing down commas, for example, shorthanding stuff, shorthanding tables, shorthanding tables like 1s and 2s equal so and so, kind of make it easier. Yeah. So the so we're well on track. I think that we've got I would say maybe a week. So it's slightly after the June deadline, maybe a few days after that. It does depend. Clive's obviously doing some work. James, I forgot about the latest start time. At least I can catch some of this before it ends. How are you doing, James? Yeah, I think from now on I'm going to probably do it later. So probably will be starting from 10 p.m. BST, Greenwich Mean Time +1. It's slightly later in the day. I think it's easier for people. Majority of people that watch are in America. Some in the UK, some in Europe. We got a bit of a mix. What am I talking about? We've got a bit of a mix, and yeah, I think this time's it's not bad. It's not bad across the board. So it's probably a bit handier for me as well, because before I was kind of rushing my food to get on at 8. And really, this is better. I've eaten, I've sat down. Actually watched an episode of Who Do You Think You Are this evening, so that was quite good. Way out in California, many time zones away. Yeah. indeed. It's quite mind-blowing, really, when I kind of look at all the different areas that people watch from. So it's fantastic. I love it, and this kind of mash of cultures, and I can see it in the responses that people give as well, in their emails or their messages. Different ways of speaking, and different humor that comes up. California as well. Wow. Actually, there's a few people from California that watch. So that's fascinating. Maybe the gaming culture over there in California is just maybe that's a bit prime. California as well, Jeff. So we've got Crap Phone, Michael, and Jeff in California. Dude, I'm East Coast US. That's the other side, isn't it? I'm starting to maybe pick up a little bit of the geography in Toronto, Canada. Blue Eye Geek. Bygone. Oregon. Yes. Yeah. So that's a whole different time zone as well. Blimey. Manitoba. Where's that? California is West Coast. Yes. And did you say East Coast? Canada. Oh, Johnny. Yes. Central Sahara near Fresno. Sierras? Central Sierras. Not Sierra. Yes, Brian, UK. Yeah, I know you are. Hey ho, the map sheet looks great. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Hey Cody, how you doing? This is by Joel. Joel has done this one, and it's going in the book. Nebraska, yes. So that's right in the middle. I had a look on the map the other day, Nick. I was fascinated to see. Whoa, crap! I'm in Fresno. Michael, where's Fresno? Where is that? Fresno. You might with is that Daffy Duck on your image there? That must got to be America, surely. In the middle of California. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I just love to go to America. There's so many big cities in America I'd like to go to, and so many wonderful natural resources I'd like to go and see. It is. I'm a little hyper like him. He really is. You don't speak like him as well, do you? Fresno's in the middle of the state. Okay. Got you. Yeah, so I'd just like to get a car and drive to some of these big cities, go to some of the museums that are kind of hidden away. I'd love museums. I know it's really boring. But museums, and then go to some of these natural wonders as well. It'd be brilliant. Cool. Okay, guys, unless there's any questions, I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about. My head basically is down trying to get this finished, and doing that. I have actually put the demo version of 2D6 up on itch.io now. Itch.io, is that how you say it? I've got a few things up on there, but that platform has been growing big time as far as I'm aware. So I wanted to try and get in on there so that I could build up a kind of a following, if you like, or a presence. They do some good stuff on there, and I'm interested to find out some games on there that I can download and have a look at, some solo RPG stuff, and see what that's like. Yes, 0999. Okay, so you got one more 9 on there. We're nearly done. It's basically it's as I thought, right? As I was doing level 10 today, I thought, oh, I just need to summarize this at the back of the book. So there was always going to be something extra I needed to add once I'd done level 10. So, and it's, as it turns out, it is the Lord's pendants that have to be found and taken back to town. So I need to make a note of that at the back of the book where it finishes off, and just put that in there. That will be version 1 very soon. And then, that's the rule book. That is it. And then everything else that goes around it, all the extra content, it's going to be largely layers and some extra characters. Maybe I might attach on an advanced magic user type system that will go into an expansion. Toby, can you send me the level 10 rules for dungeon creation to test? Yes, I can. In fact, I'm just finishing those off tonight. So, not tonight, tomorrow morning. So I will send them through to you, Nick. In fact, I'll send that through to the playtesting emails, and you can have a look. It definitely it needs testing, needs looking at. So we are bearing in. But the scaling and the getting the levels right has taken me slightly longer, and adding in the new potions and thinking about how I can kind of give agency to the higher level adventurers has taken up a bit more time in the last week than I thought it would. So it's kind of dragged a little bit, but we're still looking good. I mean, we're still on a good schedule. It's a huge amount of content, and I'm really pleased with how it's gone. And we haven't hit any brick walls yet, so that's a good sign. With how many stretch goals were hit and all the material added, people should be okay with it taking a little longer to complete. Yes, in fact, the stretch goals, some of those are done, some of them aren't done yet. So I need to look at that. That is a good point, James. I need to double check that. I may have that might be a slight oversight. I maybe need to have a quick check that I've got all of those in, because there were quite a few. That comes out of left field sometimes, so I'll make sure that those are all there as well. I'll be happy to do it too. It was fun to map out level 8. Yes, of course, Jeff. I'm going to put it on to all the playtesters. So we'll see. Definitely got a lot to do. Okay, you've been awesome, guys. I will catch up with you. Well, I'll be putting stuff out during the week, and then hopefully next week, when we do the stream on the Tuesday, we'll have version 1 and all the tables finished. Fingers crossed. So that is a plan. Great. Okay. Brilliant. I will catch up with you very soon, guys. Take care. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for all your help. I haven't gotten to play test much lately. A couple of weeks and catched up. Okay. Don't worry about it, James. Good stuff. Catch you later. Javier says, Jeff's good to see you now. Now back to work for me. Yes, I'm going to go get some sleep. Guys, take care, and I will see you